Hi everyone, my name is Andrew, and let's talk free speech. For my topic of this presentation, we'll be discussing the role social media plays on regulating and governing free speech in today's society. Specifically, we'll be going over the potential ways that free speech could be regulated within different online communities, as well as the role free speech and social media play in spreading misinformation online. Both of these topics involve us all, as we are constantly surrounded by media throughout our everyday lives. Stick around for the end of this presentation, as I will leave the viewer with a question for themselves to answer. It's important that individuals all over the world think about this topic, because it truly does involve us all, even when we think it may not. Let's start off by defining what free speech really is. Free speech is the fundamental right to express one's opinions even when they might be controversial or unpopular than those that are mainstream. Free speech allows for individualism and helps one express themselves in a way that is unique to themselves, as well as allowing for building connections with other people who might think alike. However, there's a fine line between free speech and hate speech that is continuously overrun and stepped over. Hate speech, on the other hand, is derogatory, and it undermines the rights and safety of different groups and communities. Now, we may know the difference between these two types of forms of speech, but the difference in the eyes of the law between these two forms of speech is that free speech is protected under the law, while hate speech isn't. Let's take a look at how these two forms of speech are integrated within our online communities within social media. Within social media, everyone from all parts of the world is able to communicate with each other 24/7. There are constant opinions being voiced every single day and different comments being made from a plethora of subgroups and different platforms online. What we need to think about is what happens if those opinions get involved within the wrong community, or the opinions being shared by an individual are just blatant hate speech. Luckily, researchers studying this topic have proposed a way to reframe our mindset on the idea of free speech in social media. What they proposed is that in order to allow individuals to use their right of free speech within online platforms, their opinions and statements need to be amplified to one's intended audiences to avoid interactions with unpredictable groups. And this idea comes from looking at how social media platforms configure an algorithm specifically catering to what we want to see. What I mean by this is that let's take a look at how when we Google something, for example, and a few days or even hours later that exact same product shows up again on our feed, that is an algorithm that is configured to what we want to see. Individuals will still have the right to free speech, but their speech will only be pushed and spread amongst their algorithmic community. What this new way of sharing speech does is it allows for the avoidance of unnecessary interactions of individuals who are not part of one's given algorithmic community. Rest assured, this speech, however, will still be accessible to either side of a certain community. An individual will only have to go out of their way to look for it instead. Now let's reflect on this way of handling free speech within social media, because it still does have its implications. As noted by the researchers among this study, is speaking to an algorithmic audience truly considered free speech? Or how will our understanding of social media change if these algorithmic audience techniques are put into place? While we are certainly far from having these methods of handling free speech to avoid conflicts within the different subgroups online in place, it's definitely safe to say that more data is fully needed to comprehend how the categorization of these algorithmic audiences will be put into place. Alongside the sharing of hate speech online comes one of another great dangers we face in today's society, and that is the spread of misinformation. Fun fact, research from a study surrounding the challenges individuals face regarding social media suggests that lies spread faster than the truth does. Let's take a deep dive into this topic now. A study regarding this topic proposed a question that could potentially spark some debate. The question being, should freedom of expression be upheld even if that expression allows for the integration of harmful misinformation within our media? Now, when we think about this, individuals are placed in this sort of moral dilemma situation, as we are stuck between two options of regulating free speech. and hate speech. Option number 1 is removing certain posts online or in forums in which harmful speech or misinformation is being spread, which is technically silencing the use of one's right to free speech. Option number 2 is not removing those posts or forums online and allowing for that harmful speech or misinformation to be circulated online, which negatively contributes to one's experience online. Personally, what I believe should be implemented is an enhanced version of moderation techniques through online platforms that we already have today in order to mitigate and prevent the spread of hate speech and misinformation at its core. Now, preventative measures such as using AI, for example, to help locate and identify and remove these posts which solely contribute negatively towards online discourse can potentially help to make online platforms a safer community for everyone. The difference between human moderators and AI moderators is that human moderators that are tasked to remove and censor hate speech and stop the spread of misinformation simply cannot keep up with the sheer volume of posts and comments made every single day online. While on the other hand, AI is able to keep up with the number of posts and comments it needs to moderate daily, the issue of culture and group dynamics are left out of the picture. AI technology is only programmed to perform certain duties in which it is made to do. AI lacks the imperative ability to understand different cultures, as well as read upon group dynamic behaviors in order to discern between what is real hate speech or misinformation and what is merely a joke amongst online users. If this advanced AI technology is implemented online, further configuration within its code might be needed in order for it to improve upon understanding what needs to be removed and where. Unfortunately for us right now, computer and AI technology has not advanced enough for it to understand human behavior fully, and that presents itself as a large implication towards this potential solution. But with this way of moderation in place, it leaves us wondering if this is abusing the power of censorship online. Does it truly matter if using these techniques will greatly contribute to the positive experience that we all want to have online? Or will misinformation and hate speech become something that becomes so large and spirals out of control that there's no point in controlling it whatsoever? Let's recap what we learned and discuss where this information puts us in the grand scheme of this topic. Throughout this presentation, we discussed the difference between what free speech and hate speech is and how they both contribute to an online community. We also discussed how some researchers have proposed a new way of thinking about free speech in order for us to be able to express ourselves online to an algorithmic audience in our own communities. And lastly, we discussed the crucial and harmful role that misinformation plays within different online communities, and how curbing that spread of misinformation could potentially place us in a morally confusing situation. While the majority of what we discussed today is just simply theory, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are about this topic. So, for that reason, I'll leave you for some food for thought. What do you think is the best way that we can completely diminish hate speech as well as misinformation online without compromising the integrity of free speech in general? Thank you so much for watching.